Catherine Delacroix sat rigid in the cold steel chair of the interrogation room, a magenta silk scarf knotted defiantly at her throat. Then the door opened, and Kevin Walsh walked in, a composed man with glasses, a gray plaid shirt under a white smock, his eyes locked onto that scarf.
That scarf is exquisite, Catherine. Do you know where the silk came from?
Why are you here? You have no right to question me.
I'll tell you, it came from my farm, the last batch before the fire.
Catherine's hand rose slowly to the scarf. Her fingers traced the edge, where a small singe mark darkened the silk.
You are wearing the evidence of what you destroyed. 600,000 silkworms, 8 acres of mulberry trees, all ashes.
She stared at the vibrant silk, the last of Kevin Walsh's silk, and the full weight of the night she had thrown that kerosene-soaked brick crashed down.
No, that can't be. It's just a scarf.
But the truth was seared into the fabric, and in that moment, Catherine Delacroix understood that the very symbol of her vanity would be her undoing. 6 months earlier, Kevin Walsh lived a quiet life as the only silk farmer in the United States. 8 acres of mulberry trees stretched in the sun, feeding 500,000 silkworms in a long white rearing house. Inside, he checked each tray like a surgeon, noting every change in temperature and leaf color.
You are the foundation of everything, little one. From your thread comes the finest silk in the world.
That silk was destined for Hermès carré scarves, each hand-finished in Paris and sold for thousands.
The new gold weave is ready, Jean-Luc. It'll be the centerpiece of the spring collection.
The exclusive contract was worth $20 million annually. Kevin Walsh knew every silkworm by its cocoon yield. Then one Tuesday, a certified letter from the HOA. Insect breeding nuisance. Shut down immediately or face fines.
Silkworms are cleaner than any pet. This isn't about hygiene, it's about someone wanting control.
He tossed the letter aside. If only he'd known that behind it was a woman who would soon burn everything to the ground. 3 days later, a white Range Rover pulled up to the farm gate. The woman who stepped out wore a magenta silk scarf that caught the wind.
Are you the one running this insect facility? It's disgusting. It's attracting pests.
Silkworms, ma'am. They don't leave these trays, and my farm predates your development by 40 years.
I don't care about history. The HOA will shut you down. Your bug farm doesn't meet standards.
Kevin's eyes dropped to the scarf. The pattern was unmistakable. A Hermès carré. He'd shipped that weave to Paris 6 months ago.
That scarf. It came from my farm. She doesn't even know she's wearing the evidence of what she despises.
If you don't shut this place down, I'll make sure the county condemns it. I have friends everywhere.
Kevin's thumb pressed record. He'd learned long ago that when people threaten, you document.
You have 1 week. Then the HOA votes. And trust me, you won't like the result.
Kevin watched the dust settle behind her Rover. He'd dealt with neighbors before, but none who wore his life's work as a weapon. Over the weeks, Catherine filed reports: nuisance, health hazard, illegal business. Inspectors came and went, finding nothing.
You've had your chance. If you don't shut this down, I'll burn those disgusting worms myself.
Kevin kept his phone recording. The threat, along with all the others, was now evidence he would not ignore. That night, Catherine wrapped a brick in a kerosene-soaked rag. The scarf was still around her neck. She drove through the dark, the scarf reflected in the rearview mirror, her knuckles white on the wheel. At the rearing house, she lit the rag and hurled the brick through the window. The arc of fire was the last thing the silkworms saw. Inside, flames erupted across the dry trays. The heat popped cocoons like firecrackers, a sound no one would hear. A motion alert buzzed his phone. Kevin saw the fire on the security feed and raced to his truck. Firefighters arrived, but their water turned to steam before touching the blaze. The roof collapsed with a roar. By dawn, he walked among the smoking ruins, the only sound his boots on dead silk. The farm was gone, The numbers were brutal. 600,000 silkworms, 8 acres of mulberry, decades of breeding, gone in one night. He knelt by the shattered window frame. A shard of red brick, still reeking of kerosene, lay in the ash.
This wasn't an accident. Someone threw this, Catherine.
The recording on his phone replayed in his mind. "I'll burn those disgusting worms myself." She'd said it in front of 50 witnesses.
She was wearing my silk while she lit the match. The last of my silk.
Across the valley, Catherine watched the smoldering plume from her bedroom window. The scarf was still around her neck. She smiled, a thin, satisfied line. The problem had been solved.
I'll make her pay. Not with revenge, with the truth.
He photographed every inch of the ruins, bagged the brick, and called the sheriff. The evidence was clear. The fire was only the beginning. The real war was about to start. In Paris, Jean-Luc Dubois set down his espresso. The call from America was short and catastrophic.
"The entire farm burned, all of it. The spring collection is dead."
Within hours, he and Arnaud Renard were on a private jet, crossing the Atlantic with the weight of a $20 million problem. They met Kevin in a sterile boardroom. Outside the window, the charred skeleton of the rearing house was still visible.
"Mr. Walsh, under Article 9, your failure to supply the spring silk triggers the termination penalty. We have no choice. You signed for $20 million in damages, payable in 90 days.
Kevin stared at the contract, his hand resting on the page where his signature was still wet from a better time.
20 million. I can't even pay for a new roof.
He had lost the farm, the silkworms, and now the future. The penalty was impossible. Hermès was a machine of silk and law. It didn't care about arson. It cared about arson. It cared about breach. Sheriff Todd walked the blackened ground. The brick fragment was bagged, acrid with kerosene, undeniable. Kevin handed over his phone. The recording played, Catherine's voice, sharp and clear. "I'll burn those disgusting worms myself."
A recording? That's hearsay. I was speaking figuratively. I was home all night.
She lied with the unshaken confidence of someone who believed she was above consequence.
The scarf. There's a singe mark near the edge. The fire touched her.
He said nothing, but the detail locked into place. A piece of the puzzle she didn't know she'd left behind.
"We'll send the brick for lab analysis. If the residue matches what's on her property, we'll have more than words."
That afternoon, a black sedan pulled up. Margaret Chen stepped out, State Department credentials in hand.
The disruption of your silk supply affects U.S.-France trade relations. I need a full briefing and complete cooperation.
Kevin felt the walls closing in, but also a strange new weight. The world was watching now. That night, Kevin sat in his office, pulling production logs and shipping manifests.
Magenta Royale. I packed those cocoons last spring.
He compared the photo he'd taken at the gate to the batch records. The match was undeniable. Catherine Delacroix had bought or been given a scarf woven from the last silk his farm produced.
She wore my work the whole time. The very thing she tried to destroy.
He called Margaret Chen, his voice steady but electric with discovery.
"Margaret, I can prove the scarf she wore during the fire is my silk, the last shipment."
That places her at the scene, Kevin. It's admissible. This is more than irony, it's evidence.
Kevin saved the files. He would wait until the moment was right, until she had no way out. The scarf had become a thread linking her to the crime, and he was the only one who knew. The warrant was signed at dawn. Sheriff Todd and 2 deputies stood at Catherine Delacroix's grand front door.
You can't do this. This is a mistake. Do you know who I am?
"Catherine Delacroix, you are under arrest for arson and commercial sabotage. You have the right to remain silent."
She was handcuffed on her own doorstep, still wearing the magenta scarf as if it were any other morning. Kevin watched from his truck, parked 50 yards away. He saw the scarf as the deputies led her down the walk.
She still doesn't know. The scarf is the last thing she'd suspect.
Call my lawyer. This is harassment. I am the HOA president.
As the cruiser pulled away, the magenta scarf caught the morning light, a splash of luxury against the gray police interior.
The world will see that scarf, and through it, the truth.
The arrest was only the beginning. The scarf had more damage to do. In the same cold room where the story began, Catherine sat rigid, the scarf still knotted at her throat. Her lawyer hadn't arrived. Sheriff Todd opened the door and nodded. Kevin Walsh stepped inside, his eyes calm and fixed on her.
What is he doing here? I have nothing to say to you.
I just came to admire your scarf, Catherine. Do you know where the silk really came from? It was the last shipment before the fire. My silk. You are wearing the very thing you tried to burn.
He pointed to the singe mark. Her hand rose, trembling, to touch the darkened edge. For a moment, there was silence. Then she screamed, a raw, shattering sound of complete collapse. The booking officer led her, still trembling, to the height chart. The camera flashed. The mugshot would be iconic. The image captured her anguish, the vibrant silk, a glaring contradiction against the gray institutional backdrop. Within hours, that photo would escape the police server and ignite a fashion firestorm that no one could have predicted. The booking photo was processed and uploaded to the station's internal server. A civilian clerk, bored and curious, zoomed in on the scarf. She took a quick photo with her phone and sent it to a friend who ran a fashion blog. Within minutes, it was posted. The blog headline read, "When your Hermès scarf gets you arrested." The arsonist's mugshot, Twitter and Instagram lit up. Comments poured in. Shock, mockery, and an immediate recognition of the scarf's ironic power.
They're seeing what I saw. The last of my silk, worn by the woman who burned it.
A fashion influencer with 2 million followers reposted the image, adding, "This is the most iconic mugshot since Paris Hilton. That scarf is art." The hashtag number Foulard Catherine began trending in Paris. The scarf was no longer just evidence. It was becoming a symbol.
News vans are outside. This thing is bigger than arson now.
The mugshot was everywhere by nightfall. Catherine Delacroix had become infamous without a trial. Kevin leaned back. He hadn't planned this, but he knew the truth now had an unstoppable face. By morning, the mugshot was everywhere. Fashion blogs dissected the scarf, tracing its pattern to the late Kevin Walsh's American silk farm. The headline read, "The Catherine Scarf, From Crime to Couture." The irony is as rich as the silk itself. Collectors flooded auction house emails, asking about the Foulard Catherine pattern. A secondary market ignited overnight.
Mr. Walsh, it seems your unfortunate incident has created a rather unique market event. Perhaps we were hasty in our termination. The board believes a limited edition Catherine collection could be quite lucrative. Shall we discuss reviving our partnership?
You pulled a $20 million penalty on me 2 days ago. Now you want to be partners again.
This is leverage, Kevin. You have their attention now. Don't settle for less than what's fair.
From $20 million in debt to a potential partnership. The scarf turned everything around.
Hermès lawyers began drafting a new contract, not a penalty, but a partnership that would rewrite the story for both sides. Kevin still hadn't answered their offer. The power had shifted, and he knew the next move had to be his. 2 days later, Kevin sat across from Lisa Park in her sleek office, a single envelope on the table between them.
Catherine Delacroix's insurer is offering $2 million. No admission of guilt, full confidentiality. You could walk away clean.
2 million? That doesn't even cover the mulberry trees. What's the catch?
The catch is silence. No criminal trial, no press, no setting precedent. They want this to disappear. But we could also file federal charges. Arson, commercial sabotage, the works. The mugshot gives us a jury that already hates her.
Kevin thought of the 600,000 silkworms, the ash, his grandfather's legacy. This wasn't about money.
If I take the money, she wins. The truth stays buried. Number. File everything. Federal charges, civil suit, maximum penalties. She doesn't get to hide behind a check.
I was hoping you'd say that. I'll start the filing now. This will be public, and it will be ugly for her.
The choice was made. Kevin would fight, and the world would watch. The federal indictment was unsealed that afternoon. Catherine Delacroix was charged with arson, commercial sabotage, and destruction of international trade assets. Lisa Park filed the civil suit simultaneously, citing $20 million in damages. The press conference drew 100 cameras.
She set out to destroy my life's work. Now the world will see the evidence.
Inside the courtroom, Catherine's defense team fought to exclude the scarf from evidence, calling it prejudicial. The judge's ruling was clear. The scarf is not unduly prejudicial. It is probative of identity and motive. It stays. The scarf, now a cultural artifact, was transferred to a luxury auction house for safekeeping. Its pre-auction estimate began at $50,000. Within days, bidding interest pushed the estimate to 6 figures. The foulard Catherine was turning Catherine's vanity into a financial phenomenon.
This is absurd. They're making money off my mugshot.
Kevin stood outside the courthouse, the rebuilt farm logo behind him on a banner as reporters shouted questions. He didn't smile, but the shift in power was visible. The scarf was now worth more than the settlement she'd offered. The next morning, Kevin Walsh and Lisa Park were escorted into a top-floor boardroom at Hermès' New York headquarters.
Monsieur Walsh, we have drafted a new proposal. We wish to waive the penalty entirely and fund the rebuilding of your farm. In exchange, Hermès would hold exclusive rights to the story and produce a limited edition scarf line. Your share, 20%.
20%. That's generous, given you were demanding $20 million from me a week ago. But I want 30% and creative control over the silk quality. The design and story remain mine.
Agreed. 30% and creative control. The contracts are ready.
Lisa Park reviewed every clause, then nodded. Kevin took the pen. Kevin signed, his hand steady. The date marked the rebirth of Walsh Silk. He rose, shook hands with the Frenchman. Outside the window, the Manhattan skyline glinted, a world away from the burned orchard. He'd turned catastrophe into a partnership that would outlast a prison term, but the trial still loomed. The trial of Catherine Delacroix began on a cold January morning. The courtroom was packed with reporters and fashion bloggers. Kevin Walsh took the stand. He adjusted his glasses and recited his oath in a steady voice.
She told me she'd burn my silkworms. I recorded it. That night my farm went up in flames.
The prosecution played the recording. Catherine's voice filled the room, sharp and venomous. Then they produced the scarf, the same magenta silk that had been around her neck during the fire. The jury saw the singe mark. They saw the viral mugshot. The irony was not lost on them. Catherine's attorney tried to shake him, suggesting his recording was taken out of context.
The context is arson. She made a threat, then my farm burned. Those are the facts.
He's making me look like a monster. This is a nightmare.
The trial stretched into its second week. Closing arguments were only days away. The jury filed back into the box. Not one of them looked at Catherine. The foreman unfolded a sheet of paper. His voice cracked when he began. Guilty of arson. Guilty of commercial sabotage. Guilty on all counts.
No, this can't be real.
The judge sentenced her to 15 years in federal prison, plus $5 million in restitution.
All those lives, all that silk. Now the law has spoken.
Catherine was handcuffed again, led from the courtroom through a side door. She didn't look back. Reporters flooded the hallway. But the story was already bigger than any verdict. Kevin left quietly, but he knew the scarf would soon have its own day in court, the auction block. Justice had been served, but the story of that magenta silk was only half written. The auction house was packed. The scarf, mounted in a glass case, glowed under spotlights. Bidding opened at $10,000. Paddles went up before the auctioneer could finish. Within minutes, the price hit 6 figures. Collectors, museums, and fashion houses fought for the relic. At $480,000, the gavel struck. The scarf had increased 400%. Kevin watched from the back, a slight smile. His silk had become more than fabric. Cameras flashed. The image of the scarf and its price tag went global in seconds. The foulard Catherine was no longer just a piece of evidence. It was a collector's artifact. Fashion websites broke the news. Arsonist's Hermès scarf fetches $500,000.
From 600,000 silkworms to this. Some threads weave themselves into history.
The scarf that once belonged to a Karen was now a luxury relic. The Hermès boutique on Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré unveiled its window display, the new Foulard Catherine collection. That evening, a gala launch filled with fashion elite celebrated the collection's debut.
Tonight, we unveil a tribute to resilience, the Foulard Catherine, woven from a story that wouldn't burn.
Models walked the runway, the iconic magenta pattern fluttering with delicate flame motifs. Online, the collection sold out within hours. The Hermès website crashed under demand.
Every scarf sold is a thread of justice.
Vogue interviewed Kevin, the magazine cover featuring his portrait, the Silk King.
The silkworms didn't die for nothing. Their legacy is in every scarf.
The Catherine scarf became a symbol of ironic redemption, hung in boutiques worldwide. Kevin stood in the Paris boutique, watching customers buy his silk. Justice woven in thread. On a bright spring morning, Kevin Walsh cut the ribbon on the new Walsh Silk Farm, flanked by Jean-Luc Dubois and Margaret Chen. The new rearing house was a cathedral of science, automated and pristine, filled with the soft hum of 1,000,000 silkworms.
From the ashes, life again. Exactly what Grandpa would have wanted. This scholarship ensures that silk science thrives long after me.
The William Flint Memorial Scholarship for Textile Science, funded by a portion of the scarf's auction, would support students for decades. Kevin placed a fresh mulberry leaf beside his grandfather's photograph, a quiet ritual. Across the orchard, workers planted new saplings in soil that had once been ash.
We didn't just rebuild. We started something new.
Walsh silk was back, stronger than ever, and Kevin Walsh knew the best was still to come. The farm stood as a testament to the idea that even the most destructive fire can clear ground for new growth. In the prison library, Catherine Delacroix picked up a fashion magazine. She turned a page and froze. An ad for the Foulard Catherine scarf filled the spread. Kevin walked into his new office, sleek and modern, the thriving farm his backdrop. A framed copy of the mugshot hung on the wall. He glanced at it.
Every time I doubt, I look at that scarf and remember who won.
The original scarf rested in a fashion museum, encased in glass and softly lit. A plaque beside it told of arson, irony, and the value of resilience. Catherine's grand house sat empty, a for sale sign tilting in the overgrown lawn. Kevin placed a fresh mulberry leaf beside his grandfather's photograph, a daily ritual. Then he walked out to the orchard, where the new saplings stretched toward the sun. Dusk crept over the rebuilt farm, painting the mulberry orchard in soft gold and amber. A single magenta silk scarf slipped through an open window of the rearing house. It caught the evening wind and rose, spinning gently above the new saplings. The silk glowed, the same color as the dying sun, a ribbon of memory. It drifted over the land that had once been ash, now thriving and green. In the end, the silk that survived the fire became worth more than everything that was lost. Some threads can't be burned. They weave themselves into legend. The Foulard Catherine had become larger than any crime, a symbol of resilience. Kevin's farm stretched below, a testament to the truth that destruction can clear ground for new growth. And as the scarf disappeared into the twilight, it left behind a quiet, unstoppable peace.